Hey there, YouTubes. So today I wish to talk with you about male circumcision, male genital mutilation. And this video was inspired by Stephen to Work. I'll put your name somewhere around me. Male genital mutilation, akin to female genital mutilation, where some say that male genital mutilation is less traumatic because it happens as an infant. And yet that's not the case in all countries. For some people, it's actually a rite of passage in some cultures. For a young man to become a real man, they must have their foreskin removed. But here in the United States and in Western worlds, not so much. In Western worlds, Western countries like the United States, it's generally done as an infant and is, well, forced upon a child. You're mutilating a baby. You're purposely removing skin that they grew there, understandably evolved for probably a good reason, for absolutely no reason at all. Now the argument can be made, well, what about HIV and what about sexually transmitted illnesses, STIs? What about cleanliness? Well, it takes 2 extra minutes to clean your baby properly in that way. And as far as STIs and HIV, both of those can be resolved with one of these. It's called a condom. This goes over the penis so that the penis is sheathed to avoid any contact with anything that might have an STI or HIV oozing out of it. Not to mention, for all those young men out there, this is your insurance policy. You use one of these, little Miss Thing cannot come back and say that you're the baby daddy and you need to pay up. If you use these consistently every time, you want to worry about that. And this little $2 piece of rubber, or less, depending on where you get it from, can save you $1 million in a lifetime. Is it really worth it? Is those few extra seconds of pleasure really worth it? Really worth $1 million? Or would you have a little bit less stimulation, depending on what position you're engaging in, per se, and not risk bringing a child that you are not prepared for into this world? Just saying that as a sidebar. It is one thing for an adult male to go to a doctor and say, I want to remove my foreskin for religious reasons, for sanitation reasons, to avoid HIV, because I heard this idea, which I can only figure probably comes from material like sexual fluids being built up underneath the foreskin. But in that case, why are you not washing your junk anyway after you engage in a heterosexual or a homosexual sexual encounter? I would think that you would want to wash your junk after you're done. I mean, most chicks get up and take a piss after they engage in sex, and that kind of rinses out everything down there. I would figure that dudes might want to do the same too. But that's just a lesbian's perspective. Strapping down a little baby and cutting off skin that it evolved to have is wrong, in my opinion. And I urge anyone who is conceiving a child or considering conceiving a child to consider that. I mean, it's one thing if your kid is, or it's one thing if your child is an adult and makes that decision for themselves. But it's a completely different thing to force a baby to have an unnecessary procedure. Just saying. Peace out, YouTubes.